everyone, welcome back to your Articulate Storyline 360 training series. This second video is going to talk about the basics of Storyline 360 and how to create those interactions. We're going to talk about three major elements. We're going to talk about triggers. Triggers make things happen, and they are the key to making an activity happen within the e-learning you are creating. We're also going to talk about the timeline. The timeline tool within Storyline 360 controls the duration and the timing of slide elements. You're allowed to adjust the layers of the objects and then even sync animations. To sync animations, we'll additionally talk about those animations of like the entrance and exit, the motion path options, and then how you can apply those to shapes, captions, text, characters, and a lot more. So I'm going to go ahead and just open up a new project for us to get started. So we are going to start with triggers. Triggers are made up of two elements. What action occurs and when does it happen? So give me just a second while this opens up. We'll go ahead and open up our slide as well so that way you're able to have a bigger view. I'll click insert and I'm going to go ahead and just do a basic shape. So I'm going to go ahead and draw out a shape. And then to create a new trigger, I'm going to go ahead and come over to this toolbar labeled triggers. I'm going to click this one that looks like a page and click it. A window will appear called your trigger wizard. So here's when those two elements come into play. So we have our action and when. So I want something to happen with the square. So I'm going to click on this and scroll through. So I'm going to go ahead and have it jump to, or actually, let's change the state of rectangle 1 to hidden. So this means that it will go away when the user clicks. Again, you have a bunch of different options, but I'm going to go ahead and just leave it at user clicks rectangle 1. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So if I come up to preview and then preview this slide, I'll be able to see what this looks like from the learner's point of view. As I mentioned in my previous video, you're able to change the view of it on such as like what device you're viewing it on, whether it be a tablet or a cell phone. This is really helpful so that way you don't have to publish it before you are ready to, and you're able to kind of tweak and make adjustments when needed. So here's my slide that I made. So remember my trigger was when change state of rectangle 1 to hidden when user clicks rectangle 1. So if I click it, it should go away just like that. So that is kind of the basic of triggers. This can be applied to objects, slides, the timeline, a lot of different options. I would say the best way to learn about triggers is just to kind of think about what you want to do or what you want the learner to do and maybe Google it, because there are so many resources out there available to you to figure out how to make things happen on Storyline. Okay, now that we have talked a little bit about triggers and have a basic understanding, we are going to go ahead and move on to the timeline. So our timeline is located at the bottom. The timeline allows you to view when time elements appear and disappear without having to go to that preview I was just in a second ago. So to quickly preview a slide using the timeline, I can go ahead and just slide this along, or I can also put it back. And then I can go ahead and just press the space bar and it should move. It's paused. So as you can see, it just went ahead and started over. But that is another way to view it as well. So say I don't want rectangle 1 to appear until 1 second in. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to drag. Excuse me a second. I'm going to make this just a tad bit bigger. I'm going to move this down since I'm trying to get in the same spot. I'm going to go ahead and drag this. So now rectangle 1 will not appear until 1 second is reached. So I will go ahead and click play down here to view it. Maybe. So as you can see, rectangular 1 did not appear until that blue line hit that 1 second mark. Again, there's that click and play. If for some reason you placed an object on something and it's showing below, for instance, I want this object on top of this object, I can also adjust the layers just by dragging it to where I want to. Then again, adjusting where I want it to appear. So that is going to be our timeline and kind of just the basic understandings. There's some additional tools in here, but your timeline is going to be the biggest one that you use. If you don't want to see an image for a second, you can just go ahead and click the eye and it will just show it hidden. This is great if you have a lot of different elements on your slide and you're needing to edit something under a lot of elements. This is really great for that, as well as locking the slide. So you can you can lock it and you can no longer move that object. So that is going to be our timeline. Again, if you're looking for a more advanced way of using it, go ahead and Google what kind of interaction you would like the learner to have, and it will help you figure out how to use that. Your object triggers and your timeline can work together as well, so that way things happen at certain times. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about in this video is going to be animations. So each object on a slide can have one entrance animation, one exit animations, and multiple motion pass animations. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my object and click animations up here. Just like in PowerPoint with slide transitions, you're able to add those in here as well, but I feel like that's our exit and entrance animations. So I can come down here and I can click the effect I would like it to have. So I'll go ahead and it floats in. I can change how long it takes. So I'm going to go ahead and go down to 0.25 seconds. And then I have a couple of options. So I can have it float up or I can have it come from the top. So I'll go ahead and do that. So if I come back down to my timeline, I'm able to see at 1 second, rectangle 1 will float in from the top. If I wanted to exit, I'll go ahead and I can choose what I want. I'll go ahead and do wipe. I want it to take 1 second this time. And then again, I can choose where it's coming from. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then if we preview this slide, I'll go ahead and preview the whole thing. So it's blank. So there it is. It floated in and then it will disappear here in just a second. And there you have it. Those are just some great ways to create. Oh, I did forget about one thing. Sorry about that. We have motion paths. Motion paths are also a great option for creating interactions. So if you come up here, you have some basics, you can have some shapes, or you can even create your custom motion path. So say I just want this rectangle to move from where it is to the other side of the slide. If I click basic, I will just go ahead and drag where I want it to end, drag the red circle where I want it to end. And then it will end there it will move there when I show it in a preview way. If you also look over here, you will see that a trigger has automatically been made for this object. So I'm going to go ahead and preview to show you that motion path that we have created. And there it went. It moved right as it was supposed to. So that is just some basic ways to create interaction or movement on your screen when you're creating e-learnings. Our next video will be how to create interactions for learners using elements that are already built in. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and also refer back to that presentation I've created for you as a resource as well.